All right, folks, we're live on this Saturday afternoon, episode number 27 of the Big East Coast podcast, a special edition going twice in 1 week for the first time in a long time.
Yep.
I'm Chris, that's Rob, of course, and there's quite a few things happening today, but first off, we'll start with what happened last night. The other team representing the conference in the Sweet 16 took the floor, and Butler unfortunately got outclassed and, out everything against the number one seed North Carolina Tar Heels. Tar Heels defeated the Bulldogs by the score of 92-80. Bulldogs couldn't quite get it going, and North Carolina shot the lights out in the first half for the most part. Finished the game shooting. We're making 2/3 of their 2-point attempts, made 37.5% of their attempts from three-point land. Carolina certainly looked like the title favorite that most have projected them to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I know Keelan Martin and Avery Woodson really struggled in the first half, too. I think they went a combined over 10.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tough when you're going to get your guys not going like that, and Carolina couldn't miss.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in this loss, to be clear. Carolina, obviously, like we had mentioned, I believe is the Vegas favorite to win it all. If not, they're a close second behind Kansas, or in between there, since Duke had been eliminated in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, sometimes that's just the way it goes. One team shoots hot, and you can't muster up anything, even though Butler's numbers looked better by game's end than how they were faring, during the game. They finished shooting 55.9% inside the three-point line. Outside, a little bit of a different story. Probably one of the reasons why they lost. Only shot 8 for 28 from three. This is a team that, when they were facing Winthrop and Middle Tennessee, they were shooting quite well from three. They made 66.7% of their three-point shots against Winthrop, followed that up by making 53% of their three-pointers against Middle Tennessee. So, they couldn't get in a rhythm.
No,
and UNC was in a rhythm, and they just couldn't keep up.
I mean, kind of near the end, Butler kind of started chipping away. I think they got it to 10 with 5 minutes to go, and they just couldn't get it any closer than that.
Yeah, exactly. They dug themselves in a hole with their first half performance and just simply couldn't keep up. It reminded me, now that I'm starting to think about it and I'm starting to talk about the game and how it was, it reminded me of Oklahoma-Oregon last year in the Elite Eight, where Oregon kind of dug themselves in a hole by starting off slowly. Oklahoma couldn't miss, and Oregon in the second half, they chip away, they get the deficit down to between like 10 and 15 points, and then Oklahoma, Buddy Hield and company would just keep knocking down shots, and Oregon just couldn't muster up anything. And this is the same idea here, like you said. Butler got the game down to about 10 points, but UNC would answer, and they couldn't handle UNC's size, which you have the top offensive rebounding team in the country, and you have a team with multiple guys of 6'8" and taller. And when you're Butler, you don't have the personnel to match up with that.
Yeah,
it's sort of like what happened to Providence last year when they faced them.
Mm-hmm.
Providence didn't have anybody to put a body on Kennedy Meeks or Bryce Johnson or Hicks or Justin Jackson, and we saw what happened in that result. That Big East team couldn't beat North Carolina. Another one did, of course, but it's kind of the same idea here.
Yeah, and I mean, North Carolina, Kentucky is going to be a real fun game.
They certainly had a fun game earlier this season.
Yeah, so.
And let me tell you something. The folks at 55th Street at the CBS office, they're happy about that game being in the 5 o'clock window right now.
Oh, yeah.
That game is going to pull a huge number for CBS. They are probably dancing in the streets over there up in that neck of the woods of Manhattan.
So, just moving on real quick here. We just want to touch on a couple things before we get to the main event here.
Yeah. If you want to take that.
Yeah, I know you said you want to talk about what's going on right now, which we'll get to, but
Mhm.
we actually have another coaching search that we have to talk about for the first time in a couple years in this conference.
That we do.
Obviously, Georgetown and John Thompson. I didn't read the statement. I think it was a parted ways type of deal. Won't be retaining his services, I believe, was the wording.
Let me go back and look at it real quick. God, I think there's some spam on the site. I need to take that on.
But yeah, the first time in 13 years, Georgetown is looking for a new coach. And really, they're gonna have their pick of the litter because they're pretty much the only school out there still looking for a coach. Hired Archie Miller.
Yep. Yeah, Indiana hired Archie Miller this morning. I believe I saw it was going to be a 6 or 7 year deal.
Yeah.
So IU certainly. It looked like Steve Alford was in the discussion. Sports writers were propping Chris Mack into the discussion.
Well, I think Chris Mack, especially after Pat Kelsey turned down UMass, the alarm bells went up a little bit. Obviously, Pat Kelsey went to Xavier.
Yeah, exactly.
Worked with Mack for a while.
They're also rep by the same agent, so the thought was, oh well, Kelsey would know if something was going on, but again,
no, it seems like Archie Miller was really kind of not on anyone's radar. I mean, he always is because one of the best mid-major coaches. Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of Alford, a lot of Mack. I think it's a good hire for Indiana.
Oh, it absolutely is a good hire for Indiana. And Archie had always, the thought was that he was always going to hold out for a blue blood job, and Indiana certainly fits that bill. So, I mean, this is a great hire for Indiana. This for the Big Ten's sake. They're making a lot of good hires out there in that conference, and it will probably pay dividends as far as how it translates. I mean, Rutgers even made a good hire.
Well, I mean, look at the SEC. They made a bunch of good hires in the last couple of years, and now they got 3 teams in the Elite Eight.
Exactly, yeah. I mean,
and the best prospect in the country.
Yeah, well, yeah, that also happened too yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple days for college basketball.
I'll say.
But yeah, getting back to Georgetown, Illinois made a good hire. Missouri made a good hire. Indiana made a good hire. LSU made a pretty good hire. So, I mean, pressure is kind of on. But they're also the last team out there, big schools that are looking for someone. So they're really going to have their pick.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I mean, the thought is Tommy Amaker is one of the top choices for the job, and Patrick Ewing is in the discussion as well. I mean, his name hasn't really come up, but as far as people wanting him to be there, King Rice at Monmouth would certainly be a solid choice if Georgetown went in that direction. There's a few directions they could go in, and we'll see.
Had heard Ed Cooley if Big John is still going to be, because he went to Providence. Obviously, he's a big Cooley guy.
Yep.
I think Frank Martin's a guy that you could maybe give a call to. He's done great things at both of his stops. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it absolutely will be.
All right.
Yeah.
Getting to the main event here. Xavier really wasn't supposed to be here.
No.
They lost 6 games in a row. I don't really buy into the whole they had to beat Butler. They wouldn't have even been in the tournament thing. They probably would have been in Dayton. But, I get the sentiment. But, yeah. I'm not sure anyone really saw them beating Arizona. I mean, I had them in the Sweet 16 over Florida State and Maryland. So I wasn't too surprised with that. But I think I had Arizona beating Gonzaga to go to the Final Four. So, yeah. I mean, if you look back to that game against Arizona, I think great game, very back and forth.
Yes.
But the real thing you want to key in on, Arizona got the lead up to 7 or 8 with about, let me go back here. Because it wasn't their biggest lead, but it was a lead that kind of looked like it was going to be a big difference maker. Yeah, Arizona was up by 8 with 3:30 to play. And, you had Trayvon Blewett and Malcolm Bernard just kind of take over the final couple minutes there.
Yeah, that was certainly – it was interesting because Arizona, it looked like they were trying to put Xavier away multiple times, but Xavier just never relented. They kept going. They kept chipping away. And U of A just – I mean, I don't even know if they necessarily went cold, but Xavier just
and that was the thing. That was the thing I noted multiple times early on. How Xavier, they weren't scared or intimidated.
No, not at all.
And I mean, it paid off for them. It looked early on they weren't going to have an answer for Dusan Ristic, which they really didn't. I mean, that's why I don't fully get the hate for him getting the last shot for Arizona. Well, I know Trier got the actual last shot, but that post up, Xavier wasn't really able to stop him. I know they weren't able to stop Trier in the second half, but yeah. So Trayvon Blewett came out, had a first half like he had against Cincinnati, where I think he missed once, and it was near the end.
Yeah,
and then Arizona kind of clamped down on him in the second half.
They did. Yeah,
he was kind of forcing it a little bit, but Malcolm Bernard came out and had all 15 of his points in the second half. And Sean O'Mara's venture into being an elite offensive big man continues.
Yep.
JP McCurry had a couple big shots. And really, like I said, the only person for Arizona that could get anything going was Alonzo Trier.
Yeah, because I know Lauri Markkanen didn't have a shot for the entire last 11 minutes of the game. Xavier certainly locked him up big time. I was a little surprised that they didn't try to feed him, but every time he himself said every time that he got the ball, Xavier pressured him right afterwards. So
this is the second straight game, this one in Florida State, where Chris Mack and his staff have just come up with a phenomenal game plan, and the team just followed it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
The plan was to let Arizona shoot threes. They went 7 for 27.
Yep.
Because, I mean, everyone could kind of tell Arizona had the advantage with the big guys.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's clear. And that's how the game started. I think Arizona was up by 8 early on. I think Ristic had probably 8 of the 10 points.
Yep.
And, I mean, the offensive rebounding was a bit of an issue. But,
definitely.
Survive and advance.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in the earlier game out there, Gonzaga looked beatable. They looked mortal. Obviously, they were playing a defensive behemoth in West Virginia, but they didn't look good.
I mean, it's like you just said. It's survive and advance. Gonzaga, they have an efficient offense, but they're never gonna really blow you away as far as putting up a ton of points and looking like an unstoppable force. They're gonna do what they do. And they're gonna play their game. They're gonna play strong defensively, which they did from start to finish against West Virginia, pretty much. And for the most part, this entire tournament as well, they've played elite caliber defense. And their defense on that last possession, West Virginia didn't have a clue.
No.
About what to do. And I know that people, I guess in theory, you can knock West Virginia for not having a clue on what they were doing in late game possessions, because most of the time in college basketball, no one really has a clue, it seems, what to do in late game possessions or the final possession. But Gonzaga ran them off the three-point line, and they had nowhere to go. They had nothing to do. Carter kept putting up three-pointers that weren't getting anywhere close to where he needed them to get to. So credit to Gonzaga, the top defense in the country as far as metrics go for adjusted defensive efficiency on KenPom, as well as the top effective field goal percentage allowed in the country as well. Top 5 in both perimeter defense and interior as well for 3-point and 2-point. So Xavier's going to have their hands full today.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, do you think if Gonzaga shoots 41% again, they beat Xavier? But, I mean, West Virginia shot 27%. So,
I mean, I'm interested in seeing how Xavier attacks them, because Gonzaga is just so strong defensively, and their 3-point rate for the opposition is only 32.2%. No one shoots 3-pointers against them to begin with. So I'm interested in seeing, how teams are able to attack them, because it looks to me, because only 28% of total points scored against Gonzaga this year have been 3-pointers. That's 238th in the country. Most teams score 2-pointers. So they're going to need Sean O'Mara to do what he does, but he's going to obviously have his hands full against Karnowski and Zach Collins and company and whoever else they decide to trot out there. So it's going to be tough.
Do you think that Karnowski and, Zach Collins or whoever else Gonzaga is going to put out there are that much better than Lauri Markkanen and Dusan Ristic?
It's interesting. I think there's a comparison to be made, and obviously all credit to Xavier, because they've certainly faced some terrific athletic big men in this tournament. They've been able to, get by them all, whether it be DeMonte Dodd or Jonathan Isaac out at Florida State, or Rustic and Markkanen against Arizona. Obviously, Markkanen is a little bit different from most of them in that he's kind of a stretch four. He's a really, really good shooter. But Karnowski and Collins, it's going to be interesting to see how they, how Xavier's able to attack them, because I think that they pose a little bit of a different threat towards them.
I mean, obviously, no two games are the same, but I'm not sure that Arizona's not a better team than Gonzaga.
I mean, yeah, I mean they're they both do what they do. They're both elite teams in the country. I don't think there's any disputing that at this point. I mean, Gonzaga's gotten this far when people didn't really expect them to.
I mean, I think if Xavier's able to get three guys, one guy scoring 25 and two other guys right around 15, they're going to win. But it's a matter of how you're going to get that.
Exactly.
Because, I don't think Blewett's going to get the open looks early on.
Yeah, because he's probably going to have they're probably going to throw Williams-Goss on him, and Williams-Goss did an excellent job defending Carter on that final possession, and really for much of the game too. Even though his shot wasn't there, he was still doing well defensively too. So it's all about cracking the code of the Gonzaga defense for Xavier tonight, and I'm interested in seeing how they do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say Xavier is, I mean, I don't think they're the favorite in this game, but when you get to this point, when there's 8 teams left, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, of course. And all credit for Xavier to even being.
And it's really cool to me that one of, Florida, South Carolina, Xavier, Gonzaga will play for the national title.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool that, the winner of this game goes to the Final Four for the first time in their program's history, and both coaches, and Chris Mack and Mark Few, get their first Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, maybe Blewett can come out, and I don't think the shots are going to come easy, but I think he's good enough and confident enough where he's going to get them up, and maybe they fall. Yeah.
I mean, it's like we said, you get this far, you're pretty dang good, and there's no shame in losing at this point. And for whatever happens.
No, I think Xavier's outplayed their seed line.
Absolutely. Oh, they absolutely have. They outplayed their seed line with their first win over Maryland, even if people did expect them to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last 11 was make the Final Four, VCU against Butler.
Yep, that was the last one.
So, yeah, I know we do have some questions that we'll
quite a few actually
get to here.
Thank you for those of you who asked questions on such short notice.
But yeah, I mean, just looking at the emergence of Sean O'Mara, that's going to be just even another weapon for them next year now.
Yep.
Which is like they need another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, looking at KenPom here, Gonzaga does a lot well. It's hard to find things that they're not particularly good at.
Exactly.
But you don't know, man.
Nope.
All right, you got those questions?
Yeah, I can do that now.
All right.
Okay, let's see.
Ugh. Yeah, it's a pretty good day for games today. I think Gonzaga, Xavier, and Kansas, Oregon should both be pretty good, and then obviously tomorrow, uh, pretty loaded schedule too.
Yep, yep. Should be a fun Saturday night in San Jose and Kansas City.
Yep,
Looks like the first question
should have
comes
been yesterday.
Yeah, looks like the first question comes to us from Banners on the Parkway. Friends over there.
Oh yeah,
Is what Chris Mack is doing the best coaching job you've ever seen?
I mean it's hard to pick and I said it. I think after they beat FSU, that even then it probably was it was the best job of his career. But yeah, I mean now you're venturing into territory where if they win tonight to take this team to the Final Four, and obviously no disrespect to them, but I don't think it's arguable that Edmund Sumner was probably one of the 5 most important pieces in the country on any team, just because of everything he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think Chris Mack's doing an incredible job. I think he does an incredible job every year, and I think so.
This certainly to pivot after the 6-game losing streak has been terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. Next from a tired black man at Francis Adu Jr. Does Xavier have a chance of stopping Collins and Karnowski? Well, we asked if Xavier could go up against them. Now the question is flipped. Do they have a chance to stop the 2 7-footers?
I mean, I don't think that either of them are as good as Markkanen.
Like I said, I think that it's kind of similar. Markkanen can do a little bit of different things than those two, obviously. Collins and Karnowski. Collins does shoot threes. He's only shot 20 this year. Made 9 of them, 45%. Mostly shoots inside. Same thing, obviously, with Karnowski. Has taken 313 2-point shots. Well, ideally, if Xavier wants to stop Karnowski, they probably should find a way to get him to the line because he's only a 58.8% shooter from the free throw.
Or try and get him in foul trouble, but he doesn't foul a whole bunch.
He doesn't foul a whole bunch. Actually, he only commits 3.4 fouls per 40 minutes, which isn't very many at all. Draws 4.8. Collins, on the other hand, draws 6.7 per 40 minutes, which is 36th best in the country. So, yeah, getting Karnowski, if they want to stop Karnowski, ideally they find a way to get him to the line and they don't let him attack and get easy shots at the rim.
No.
Because like I said, he's only shooting 58.8% from the line. And if I'm looking at let's look at his free throw numbers. In the NCAA tournament, he's shot 4 for 8. So he shot a solid 50%. Made 3 throws against Northwestern, missed 2 against South Dakota State, and made 1 of 3 against West Virginia. It's not a whole lot of free throws, and he did have a 9 for 10 performance against San Francisco back on February 16th. Did shoot 5 of 6 against Santa Clara in the West Coast Conference Tournament back on March 6th. But apart from that, there's not a whole lot to behold here. So
no.
He's only made 5 of his last 3, 6, 8, 11 free throws. That's going 5 versus Santa Clara.
And I think it's important to note too that Gonzaga is not the offensive rebounding team that Arizona is either.
No, they're certainly not. Gonzaga certainly will have their opportunities, even though Xavier, they do have O'Mara, they do have
Rasheed Gaston
and Rasheed Gaston, but Gonzaga's only 140th in the country as far as offensive rebounding goes. They don't allow a lot of offensive rebounds. Their defensive rebounding percentage is a solid 25.9, 43rd best in the country. So I think they have a chance, obviously, because anyone has a chance of doing anything. But that's the ideal scenario for Karnowski, at least. Get him to the line. Don't let him shoot the easy buckets because he'll be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
And let me see. All right. Yeah, because Karnowski takes 64.3% shots of his shots at the rim per hoop math, makes 66.3 of them. And you want him shooting jumpers because he's only shooting 35.4% on 2-point jumpers this year. Collins, on the other hand, is making only 18.7% of his jumpers. So just basically keep them out of the paint and off the rim if you want to stop them. Because anywhere else, they'll be able to get buckets really easy. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question comes to us from Eric Gustafson. A little bit of a different tempo to this question. If Fox insists on expansion, even though it's a bad idea, in parentheses, that's obviously his opinion, maybe it's shared, how reasonable a candidate is Gonzaga for men's basketball only? From a like-minded perspective, as far as the universities in the Big East Conference go, obviously it fits like a glove. Logistically, you run into some issues.
Yeah, Spokane is kind of far away.
Yeah, that's the only issue is travel. Otherwise, it would be a perfect fit because they check off all the boxes for me personally. Great basketball program. They're a Jesuit school, follows the like-mindedness of the Big East Conference right now. Would make perfect sense. It's just they're just very far away.
Yeah.
Very far away from the rest of the country. And if Gonzaga were to make a move like that, that would probably be the best possible choice for them. Or like something like the Atlantic 10, but even then, that's quite far from that. There's no real conference that really suits their benefits that much, which is the issue for them as far as, their conference and where they stand. Because they basically have to be in the West Coast Conference because it's impractical for the rest of the country to travel up to Spokane every year.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty much the only way that they would be able to fit. Otherwise, like I said, it would make perfect sense. And they'd probably be a decent draw for them too, for Fox, that is.
Yep.
It would work out well for them. It's unfortunate that they're all the way up in Spokane, Washington. All right, Next question from Andrew Goldstein. Is ball denial Xavier's only hope of stopping Karnowski and Collins? It doesn't seem like they can match up 1 versus 1 either. That's true. Ball denial, you don't want them to be able to get their passes into the lane or right at the rim. And as we mentioned, trying to just keep them away from the cup is probably the only way that they're going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, when Karnowski gets it, swarm him like they did with Markkanen.
Exactly.
But the issue is Gonzaga is a decent three-point shooting team where Arizona really, obviously, clearly struggled. Yeah. I mean, on paper, Arizona is a perfectly fine three-point shooting team, but, you break it down and look at their guys who are actually good. It's Markkanen, who you're already swarming when he gets the ball, was their big guy, and Kadeem Allen, who is in foul trouble. So, I mean, if you can get one of their good three-point shooting guards in foul trouble and he has to sit down, then, yeah, I would kind of try and swarm Karnowski every time he gets the ball.
Exactly. That's pretty much their only hope.
Like you said, if you foul him, it's not the worst thing in the world, in theory.
Yeah, you don't want to foul Collins because he's a 70% shooter, which that's not it's not great, but it's better than shooting 58.8% from the line.
Well, yeah, exactly.
All right, final question from Christian Dowd. Kind of funny. Has Sean O'Mara's renaissance been the most important factor in Xavier's turnaround? If not, what do you think has? I certainly think it's definitely up there as far as if you're making like a top 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's him. It's Malcolm Bernard. And I mean, I think you got to give some love to Quentin Gooden, too. He's kind of just seamlessly stepped in, and, he doesn't give you the scoring that Sumner did, but for the most part, he can distribute the ball. The turnovers are there. He's a freshman, whatever. But he's been a big piece, too, and obviously Chris Mack.
Yeah. I think Blewett's definitely been huge for them. He's played his ass off at the start of March, really.
Yeah. Yeah, since he came back from the ankle, he's been great. I think you go back to the Big East tournament, he look at his scoring. He had 18 in the loss to Creighton, but every win other than that,
he scored 58 or 59 total points in the Big East tournament. He was huge.
Yeah.
And it took Josh Hart till the final couple minutes just to pass him for points scored in the tournament.
And I believe, just doing this quick math here, he's got 65 so far in the NCAA tournament.
Yep. So he's certainly turned on the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sean O'Mara is definitely one of the big reasons. I don't know if he's the reason, but he's definitely in the top 3.
No, and the funny thing about Sean O'Mara, it's not like he's out there scoring 20 points a night, but he seems to hit baskets just at the most opportune time. His passing is top notch, which I don't think too many people realize about him. And he doesn't miss free throws. Well, he missed 3 in the last game, but before the last game, he was 15 for 17, 15 for 16 from the line in the first 2 games.
Yep.
And you're in these close games. That's what you want.
Exactly. All right, that was the last question.
All right. You are you going to give a prediction or?
I really don't want to.
It's hard, man.
It's tough. It's tough. It's gonna be fun though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we'll be back. I don't know, Monday maybe. I guess it really depends what happens today.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Monday is a safe bet. We can either preview the Final Four or take inventory of where everything's at. And, yeah. So, thanks for joining us here on Saturday. Rob, that is Chris, and we will see you later.
Yep.